Howdy everyone, Shim here, bringing you another Forza racing video. I know it's been a while since my last video, but just had a lot of things going on recently, and um, the footage that you're about to see is actually from a few weeks ago, from the the early sports car series, spec series that we have. And for today's video, I really wanted to talk about two things. One being the penalty system in this game, and two being the balance of cars within the spec series in this game, because I think this is two areas in which Forza could improve upon. And I want to show you that with this video because I think this early sports car series really highlights the discrepancies in cars in a class. But with that said, I want to show the beginning of this race. I'm using the McLaren P1 for this first race at Mid Ohio, and this McLaren, I really enjoyed driving it personally, but it had a lot of issues. As you can see, it had really good acceleration, but the F40s and F50s around me, the Ferraris, did not. And right off the bat, I get punted off the wall and get no penalty, but yeah, that's the penalty system that I'm dealing with right now. And I want to show you another more egregious scenario of rammers and the penalty system here in a later race when I was using the Lamborghini Diablo. And here we are at Spa in the rain. This Tubbs guy kind of cuts me off as we're going up Eau Rouge, but I foresee that happening and I brake ahead of time. I do almost go off track there, but I didn't get the penalty, luckily. Usually you'll get a penalty for that. And I go alongside Tubbs here. And he absolutely destroys me. And I'm trying to brake as much as I can. I'm trying to keep the car going straight. I get a penalty for avoidable contact there. And then I get a penalty for an illegal off-track pass. I honestly have no freaking idea what this game is thinking sometimes when it comes to the penalty system back here at Mid-Ohio in the McLaren. But, those two situations there, I think, just show how, driving standards in Forza and the penalty system are just really messed up. I know a lot of other YouTubers have been talking about this right now, and it's a known, I would say, issue with the game that the penalty system is just kind of whack. But we're having fun with it the best we can. I still really like this game. I'm still playing it, even though I'm a terrible driver, as you see, going off track there, down the long back straight, a very tricky back straight there. But as I was talking, I actually wanted to talk about two things in this video. The first thing was that penalty system and how whack it can be, but second is with these spec series, especially with the spec series that have multiple different cars you can choose on. So that would be like the touring car series, the GT series, and all of these weekly spec series that we have, the ones where you can choose from multiple cars. And I think this early sports car series that we had last week really highlights the issues with some of the spec series and the balancing of cars within this game. Because we have cars like this McLaren P1, which isn't like too difficult to drive, I would say, but you have almost zero tuning options with this car. You can change the anti-roll bars, and I think and your tire pressures, and that's about it. But as you'll see later in this video, other cars within this same class had like full tuning options that you could choose from. But for some reason this one didn't. I don't know if that's an oversight on Turn 10's, side, but it doesn't seem like an oversight. And it also seems a bit ridiculous because you can really eke out a lot of performance from the F40 and the F50 and the Diablo, Lamborghini Diablo. You can eke out a lot of performance by doing small tuning changes, because even though the PI of the car is set and you can't change any of the parts and change the performance that way, you can still have a whole plethora of tuning options to, change the car's handling and characteristics. But for some reason, a car like this P1 doesn't have a lot of those options. And I think this brings up a really good point within this game about, how much tuning should people be allowed to do in these spec series, right? A few weeks ago, we had the Formula Mazda, and I mentioned that it was probably my favorite ever racing series that we had because I feel like everyone was at a similar level. Everyone was in the same car, and the car, even though it had full tuning options, you know, had about the same pace regardless of like how you tuned it, it seemed like. Some people, were able to tune it a little bit better than others, but I think it was good because it kept everyone on a very even playing field. And I really like that about a spec series. I think that's what a spec series is supposed to do. Everyone's supposed to be in, specification machinery. Everyone's supposed to have similar performance. But the BOP, I know that's a cursed word in a lot of sim racers' vocabulary. The BOP with a lot of these spec series in Forza Motorsport just seems a bit off. This McLaren P1 was really quick out of corners, had okay top speed, but definitely not the highest top speed, and just you could not change the tuning at all in terms of your turn in and the handling characteristics of the car. You couldn't really do too much about it. And as you can see, a little bit of an issue there with the two Ferrari drivers ahead of me as I'm trying to jockey for position. This Senna guy was actually super, super quick. I just was not able to catch him. But as I was saying, the spec series I think should promote more equal racing than I think we get in a lot of situations, especially these weekly spec series. If you're going to include a car, you should include a car that not only fits the type of spec that you're hoping to go for, but it should also be able to have similar tuning options. This McLaren seemed to be a couple seconds off of the pace when you compare it to the best. And luckily, I didn't get a penalty for that collision. Maybe I should have. But this McLaren seemed to be a couple seconds off of the fastest pace in some of the other cars in the same class. And I think it really is down to tuning options. It's just I could not edit the tuning options enough for it to make a difference. Skipping ahead here in the race, P8 now after all of that lap one, trouble. And I'm just struggling to get any type of position here, jockeying with Roddy here. And this is about where I decide to go in for my pit stop. So being a medium length race, definitely need to make a pit stop in here because the tires are absolutely getting destroyed. And I felt like that was the hardest thing to tune out of this McLaren, is just the tire life was really bad, especially on the fronts. I was just not able to make the car feel good, and as well as keep tire life on the front tires. So back to my point, when it comes to the spec series, it really comes down to two options. One, you can keep it how it is, but you maybe should hone in on the cars that you use more closely and make sure that the BOP is just overall better at a baseline. Still allowing people to have the tuning options, but have that more impact the feel of the car and not so much the pace of the car. I don't know how you would do that. A lot of times when you do affect the feel of the car, you do affect the pace a little bit, but figuring out a way to do that, or we just have base setups for all of the cars and people are not allowed to change them. Actually, this week we have the BMW M3 spec series, and if you look at the tuning options for that car, it's very, very limited, and I think that is perfect for a spec series. And I haven't been able to really try that out yet, but I'm really excited to see how well the racing is in that series because, everyone is really in equal machinery. There's not a lot of tuning that you can do to the car to make it feel any different. There's just a little bit of tuning you can do. But at the end of the day, everyone's in the same car. Everyone's, got those same options. And I think the racing is going to be better because of it. I don't know. That's just me. But rant over, I guess. We'll get to it a little bit later and show why I think this McLaren P1 was so bad. But here we are, lap 8 in this race. I'm P7, and I believe I started off in P7, if I'm not mistaken, after having that big issue on lap 1. And now I'm really just trying to do the best I can to work my way up the field. You know, I'm honestly not that good of a driver, and I make a lot of mistakes, as you have maybe seen so far in this video. I make a lot of mistakes when I'm driving. I'm not the best racer, but I'm doing my best to improve. I think that's the big thing with a lot of these, a lot of this racing content and these racing games. It's just like focusing on your personal improvement and making sure that you can make little gains every time you get out on track. But back to the race. We're on lap 8 here, and we'll actually skip forward here to the end of the race as I come around the carousel one last time. Not much else happened for the rest of the race. I was able to stay out of trouble, and I crossed the line P7, able to recover the position that I had at the beginning. So didn't lose anything, didn't gain anything. I did stay clean for that race, which is great. I think this was an A-class safety rating lobby because I've been getting a lot of stupid penalties. But uh, moving on, the next race, I had leveled up the McLaren F1. It's not a P1, sorry, F1 to level 50, the highest level, and I decided to get a new car, the Lamborghini Diablo, because I saw this was doing really well. I wanted to see how well it would do, so got into the next series here at the Nürburgring, did a little bit of updating to my car, and I went out for practice. But before that, I did a bunch of tunes. See, you have all these tuning options for this car. I do a little bit of camber changes because you don't really need too much camber just to maintain grip. Made the toe all equal, increased the caster a little bit. I do stiffen the anti-roll bars because in a lot of these cars, stiffening anti-roll bars is basically just pure pace gain. Stabilize the rear a bit by lowering the one in the rear. I increase the downforce quite a bit because this is a little bit of a technical track, the Nürburgring, and I want to have a balanced aerodynamic car, and I move the brake balance back just a little bit. Seems like moving the brake balance back a little bit in Forza Motorsport makes the car just a little bit quicker. And moving into the race, I decided not to qualify, but you'll see pretty quickly the difference in pace that I'm able to have. And again, I don't know if this is so much the track, but I would say I know, I'd say I know the Mid-Ohio fairly well, but even with getting bumped in the back here on the first turn, which is pretty typical, and maybe getting jostled around a little bit, starting P5, I'm just able to get a way better handle of this car. It turns just as much as I want it to. It grips where I want it to. It sticks to the ground. It doesn't wobble and oversteer on exit. That's one of the issues I have with a lot of cars, is they just seem to oversteer on exit a lot because they have like too much power. But I just felt so much more comfortable in this Lamborghini than I did in the McLaren the whole time. And I was level 50 in the McLaren. I had raced the McLaren a lot. And this is my first race, first time using this Lamborghini, and I already immediately feel more comfortable in the car. I feel more confident in what I can do in it. I feel like I have way more pace, and I'm just able to maintain the grip so much better. As you see, now battling with a Booby, the leader here. I try to go on the inside, not able to make it happen, and a very shameless dive up the inside by Ryder there in P3. I'm able to hold the car though. And down the back straight here at the Nürburgring, backed a little kinked straight. Now I'm on the charge again, trying to get close to P1. Just feel really confident in the braking zone here. That was another thing in the McLaren. I felt like if I moved the brake bias too far back, the rear would just step out on me. I just felt like I had no stability in the rear. But in this Lamborghini, since I had some rear downforce I could play with, I was able to stabilize the rear a lot better. And with that, I'm in P1, baby, and I've got the whole race ahead of me. I'm pulling ahead of second place, and if we skip to the end of the race here, really no contest. I was able to just pull away super easy from those drivers. And, the skill rating of these lobbies should really be pretty close, between two races. These were back-to-back races. And sure, the lobby's a little bit small, but I just felt so much better in this car, and I really think it highlights the difference in performance between cars of the same class. But anyway, that's my own personal gripes. I'm still really loving Forza. More videos to come as I try and find new footage. Honestly, the hardest part about these videos is just finding engaging footage for you guys to watch. But be on the lookout for more videos in the future, and especially some more videos regarding a new rally game that just came out not too long ago, last week. I've hopefully going to get some footage for that game coming out here shortly, and a bit of a retrospective on why I think rally racing is a forgotten love of my motorsport enjoyment. I don't know if I said that right there, but anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was informative and you enjoyed the racing. I know I was talking over most of this and not really commenting on the race gameplay, but I wanted to highlight an issue that I see with Forza, and I hope you guys see that issue as well. But anyway, my name is Shim. Thank you so much for all your support, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.